In this video, we're going to talk about two different types of shoulder impingement I commonly see with my clients, why they happen, and what to do about it. Hi, I'm Alex Effer, founder of Brazilian Training and Rehab. I've helped thousands of coaches and practitioners get faster and more consistent results with their clients. Let's get into it. The first type of shoulder impingement is going to be at the front part of the shoulder when you are flexing your arm and internally rotating. So there's a test called the Hawkins-Kennedy test where you take your arm, so let's just say I have impingement on that right shoulder. I take my arm and I grab my left shoulder and I lift up. So as I come across my body, that's going to be something called adduction. Because my arm's in front of me, my arm's going to be flexed. And then by grabbing onto my shoulder and lifting my elbow up, I'm going to go more and more into internal rotation. People commonly feel that when they're doing pressing motions, especially the front part of the shoulder. And so with this, the reason why this happens is if we have this limitation in internal rotation and flexion, what's likely going to happen is the front part of the rib cage, this anterior part of the rib cage, is going to be tense and compressed. So you'll see people who either have this really squeezed shoulder blade or they'll have more of this rounded shoulder. If they have more of this rounded shoulder, their humerus or their arm is already in internal rotation. If they have more of this squeezed shoulder blade, then their arm is going to be in more external rotation, making it harder to internally rotate, because for internal rotation to happen, the scapula actually needs to be able to move slightly. If it's not able to move because maybe it's already in the position like this rounded shoulder, or it is squeezed back too much, then we're not going to have the motion in the shoulder joint to allow for that motion to happen. So when I do that pressing motion now, let's say I've got the shoulder blade that's squeezed, what's going to happen is my shoulder may round or shrug up. If one of those two things happen, that's because I'm missing internal rotation. So if I shrug up my shoulder, which is a common limitation for internal rotation, what that is going to do is that is going to artificially open the front part of the chest. Because in order for this chest or this anterior rib cage to open, I need the sternum and the humerus, sternum and the arm, to move away from each other. If I shrug my shoulder up, you can see that the arm is going to start to move away from the shoulder, which again is a common presentation when you see somebody who's doing a push-up, you see their shoulders ride up slightly. That's one of the ways. The second way is rounding of the shoulder. So when they go down, you start to see this rounding of the shoulder. Again, that's a tell that they're missing this internal rotation. And in one of those situations, they may feel this discomfort in the front part of the shoulder. So if we want to improve this, we're going to need to teach them how to flex their arm and internally rotate so that the arm bone can move in the socket properly and the scapula is able to move. So I like to do a side plank modification. As you can see, I'm not going to be coming up off the ground because if I come off the ground, they may not have the control of the shoulder. Also, by having this leg open like this, it initially turns me away from this right arm. But if I push the ground away from me, I'm going to turn my body towards the right. So assuming we've got this pain on the front part of the right shoulder, having the elbow bent is going to be important because it's going to allow the wrist to also internally rotate, which is going to be a key factor for allowing for the shoulder to internally rotate. So what's also important is putting a ramp underneath your elbow. Sometimes if I have my elbow just on the ground, people feel like they're side bending too much. The ground is very far away from them, so they start to round their shoulder or they start to squeeze their shoulder. It just doesn't feel very comfortable. So having the ramp is also going to not just bring the elbow up towards me, but it's going to naturally keep my weight back onto the elbow. Because what will happen with this ramp is it's going to initially push me on towards my arm. So I'm going to have to automatically feel like my body's shifting back, which is what I want. I want to open up the chest and that upper part of the back. The thing that's also important is to have the elbow bent because it's very important that my wrist is also able to internally rotate as well as my shoulder. So the wrist is going to help with that shoulder internal rotation. So what I'm going to do, take this left arm, I'm going to turn the wrist inward so I get the inside part of my wrist into the ground. I'm then going to take this left foot. You can play around with the foot position. I don't want you to feel any tension initially. And I want you to think about you're pushing the ground away from you so you're going over top of the right arm. Then You're going to breathe in as you get tall through the shoulder. I don't want you to think like you're side bending. Just think like you are lifting yourself up. As you breathe out, you're going to twist this wrist in even more. So you take a big breath in through your nose as you get tall through the shoulder. Breathe out. Twist the wrist. Now you shouldn't feel like your hand is coming off. You should feel your hand is nice and wide, so you have all parts of your knuckles contact with the ground. And you're going to breathe in as you get tall, breathe out, twist. The whole time this left foot is pushing me over towards the right elbow. Second type of impingement happens in the similar area, but it's mostly when we're reaching overhead. So we start to get these end range of motion, we start to press overhead. People will sometimes complain about pain in the front part of their shoulder. Now the difference between this type of impingement and the previous one is this has to do with as we start to go into those end ranges of motion. So when we start to go the end range of motion, because the shoulder only has 120 degrees of flexion inside the joint, something else has to move to account for the rest of the motion. And that has to do with this upper part of the back or the lower part of the neck, the cervical spine. So think of like the C5, which is like the lower part of the neck, up until the top part of the shoulder blades. That now has to not only flex back or shift back, but it also has to rotate slightly. So if I'm lifting my right arm overhead, what actually has to happen is my neck has to turn towards that right side. You're not going to see that because your head's going to be facing straight ahead, but that space needs to open at the base of the neck for that to happen. If I have both sides doing it, then that rotation is going to cancel each other out, but both sides are now going to shift back. So in order to get this end range of motion, we need the shoulders to be able to go 120 degrees, and then in order to go past that, the shoulder blade actually needs to be able to tilt backwards. So we get this posterior tilting of the shoulder blade. So the shoulder blade from 60 to 120 starts to upwardly rotate. And then when we get to that end range of motion, it needs to tilt backwards. If that doesn't happen, then the shoulder blade is going to either come up and over the rib cage, so round forward, or I'm not going to have the motion, so I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blades back, arch my rib cage, so everything is going to start to squeeze on the back part. It's not allowed to open, and so now I'm starting to run out of room in the front part of my shoulder. So the difference between this one in terms of what we're going to do to improve it is we have to open up the base of the neck. We need to expand the upper part of the back and maybe add a bit of a rotation, especially if it's happening on one side versus the other. There are multiple exercises we can do. I really like the lat pull down exercise, especially in this kind of variation, because what the cable is going to do is going to naturally create this traction inside of our shoulder. By having the cable at the highest position, it's going to put me in a higher range of shoulder flexion. And by sitting back, I'm naturally going to lean back against it, again, opening up the base of the neck. Now, as I mentioned, we need a little bit of rotation, especially if it's on the one side. And we need the neck to be able to rotate. So what I like to do, I like to take a big breath in as I let the cable pull my shoulder. As I breathe out, I'm going to pull the cable down, turn the palm towards me, look down at my bicep, because that's going to allow for that rotation to happen. Then I'm going to take a big breath into my nose, and I'm going to feel the chest and the upper back stretch, and then I'm going to breathe out as I come back. So I'm breathe in here, let the cable pull me. I could even use this left hand to kind of push me over towards the right, and then I'm going to breathe out, look down the bicep, take a big breath in, breathe out. Now what I don't want to do is I don't want the elbow to come way back here. I'm stopping just as my rib cage starts. So I don't want to go past my rib cage. I want to stop just before it, because by having that kind of preacher position with the elbows in front, that slightly shoulder flex position, that's going to really emphasize the space opening here. As I go back, the space starts to close and starts to open more the front. I prefer opening the base of the neck. So by looking down, I'm going to get that rotation of the spine, and I'm going to start to open up the base of the neck. So from this angle, what you're going to do is you're going to breathe in here, breathe out as you turn your palm facing towards you. You stop right there, take a big breath in. Feel that upper back stretch, breathe out, come back. So in this video, we talked about 2 different types of shoulder impingement I commonly see with my clients, why they happen, what you commonly see from an assessment standpoint, the movements that become limited, and then a couple exercises in order to overcome it, but more specifically, the principles behind it. Not every one of these exercises may work for that specific case or for your case, but the ideas behind it are going to be the things that are going to help improve it. If you want to check out more content and how I break this down in different ways, you can check out my podcast. Put the link in the show notes below, the Resilient Rehab podcast. Talk about 2 different types of shoulder impingement. You can check that out there. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, save, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.